Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Son of God. There are not many in the Western world that don't recognize the face and name of this incredibly prevalent figure in history, but I would like to pose a question. How strong is Jesus? You see, I was having a conversation with one of my more religious family members recently, and she told me something interesting. She said,
"You know, honey, I don't know what you believe, but I can see that you're wearing a superhero shirt. You know, there's one hero who's stronger than all of them. Yep, that's right. Our Father in heaven."
And that got me thinking, just how strong is Jesus of Nazareth? When Jesus heard about the beheading of John the Baptist by Herod Antipas, Jesus traveled to them. There he found a great number of sick people in need of food and water. After healing their sick, he multiplied 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes into enough food for the entire population of 5,000 people to consume, and still have food left over. After this, he told his disciples to leave without him on the boat. After 4 days, they looked onto the ocean waves and were able to make out the silhouette of Jesus through the turbulent, stormy skies, walking across the water. When they began to grow fearful, he simply stated, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid." Afterwards, Jesus stepped onto the boat with them and halted the stormy weather, calming the seas around them. Also, fun fact, after they landed, Jesus gave a sermon where he also said, "Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the draught? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man." So, Jesus supports party culture confirmed? Also, I forgot to mention that earlier in Matthew 5, we see Jesus command Simon to cast his nets into the water after they fished for several hours without catching anything. Upon his command, the nets were filled with thousands of fish. Now, near the end of Matthew, we see one of the most important pieces of power scaling Jesus Christ, the resurrection as confirmed by an angel of heaven in the following scene. "There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and, going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, 'Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He is risen, just as he said.'" Based on observation of these feats, we can concur that Jesus is capable of creating matter, manipulating the world around him, and telepathy. But how is he able to do these things? What's the superhero origin story here? Well, according to the Bible and Jesus himself, it's the same way that Moses, Paul, and Elijah were able to do these miracles, through God. This leads me to believe that Jesus is either the most proficient of the prophets or the true Son of God. Either way, we can equate his use of power to beings that are the avatars of a higher power. This leads me to part 2 of the discussion. Yahweh, or simply God. God is a lot easier to power scale, believe it or not. If we look at the feats, we can see a few key points that allow us to pinpoint his scale. The creation of the earth and the universe, predating all of creation. Boom, high universal, low multiversal. With those 2 feats, we can simply compare a being of similar power to him and allow us to get a foothold. The power cosmic is a form of unlimited energy that is most often wielded by Galactus, a being who survived the death of his universe and was able to live in the subsequent one. By knowing that Galactus shares these 2 equal feats with Yahweh, we can gain more insight on the original question at hand. If we can scale Yahweh and Galactus to a relatively equal measure, we can also safely assume that a herald of Yahweh would be comparable to a herald of Galactus. So that answers the question. How strong is Jesus Christ? About as strong as the Silver Surfer. Think about it. Go back and read the chapters I mentioned. Jesus always somehow manages to get exactly where he needs to be at whatever speed the story calls for. He manipulates matter and is capable of withstanding a tremendous amount of pain before he basically falls into a regenerative Jesus sleep. We can even safely assume that Jesus was more than capable of stopping his crucifixion, but chose not to act on the power of God, even fighting back against God's will, stating, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Knowing that Jesus is give or take on par with Silver Surfer, we can place him on high universal scale, comparable to the likes of Marvel's Thor or even perhaps Superman. Well, there you have it. We have power scaled Jesus Christ. I've been Professor Silver. Let me know who you want me to power scale next, and as always, have a wonderful night.